Hello, my friend. Welcome to the Mindset Check podcast. I'm your host, Misha McGregor. This is a podcast where we believe that as you take time for a mindset check, you have more power than you think you do. And where we also believe that perspective and the way that we look at things actually really helps us to enjoy life instead of just letting it pass by. If you are new to the Mindset Check podcast, I wanted to review a little bit what our past seasons have been, just so that you can have a little peek into episodes that might be waiting there for you to listen to if it feels like it pulls you. So in season 1, we started the podcast out with me reading from my personal journal when I was 15 and pregnant. And we navigated through a rocky relationship, a lot of low vibration, and we learn a lot about vibration and betrayal and how to rise above those things. And we go through grief as I openly talk about the passing of my daughter, and a lot of forgiveness and figuring out life. Really, we talk a ton about how to find joy in the struggle and light in the darkness. And in season 2, we talk about the story from my current husband's point of view. And so he tells the story of how we came together after once going out in the 6th grade. And we go over the incredible ways that life works and how to look for ways that you're being led. We talk about navigating through relationships when not everything is peaches. And we also talk about the challenges of dealing with the tragic loss of one of Jake's family members to suicide. So we learn that no matter what you go through or grow through, that you are still you, and that the ways you interpret life determine how you experience it. And then in season 3, which is the season that we're in now, we talk about everything that has to do with the way that we create our internal state and the power that we have to create that state, right? So that the outside of us falls into alignment with that in a very natural way. And that allows us to live a life of joy and expansion. And as always on the Mindset Check podcast, we really focus on that you have more power than you think you do in every single episode. So if you haven't listened, then invitation to go back and listen to the episodes if that story is, feels like it pulls you and it feels like it's something that might add to your life. I also want to remind you that in season 3, we do something called Hey Mish episodes. And these episodes are episodes where I get to hear from you, my listeners, where maybe you have a question or a quandary about something that we talk about in the show, or maybe it's just kind of about a topic that you know that we would be interested in because of what we focus on the show. So if you want to, you can write it, or you can voice audio it to me, and you can send it to me in an email, and then I will respond on one of our podcasts. So I would love to hear from you. Those are actually my very favorite episodes because I get to address something that's on your mind. So if you have something that you want to share or something that you want to ask, then go ahead and email it to hello@myfriendmisha, and I can't wait. I can't wait to hear from you. All right, let's jump into this episode. Recently, I learned that when birds sense danger, they actually stop chirping. Birdsong actually signals to our animal instincts peace. So we automatically sense peace just by hearing birdsong, which is like a great little tip for, telling Alexa or Siri or whatever to turn on birdsong in the background to help you connect with feeling peace. But what's really cool is that there have been a few times since learning this that I have literally been engulfed by the beautiful sound of birds singing in this wonderful world. And in those moments, I was actually more aware, and it caused me to check into the safety and peace that was surrounding me and that was just a part of my world that so many times I take for granted. And in this way, my perspective shifted, and I was absolutely full of gratitude. So I love really diving into things like this that can help us shift perspective or bring awareness into our life that allows our perspective to shift, right? And also starting to really become aware of what our perspective is. Like, what are we running in the background, right? What's that background music? What's the background noise in our brain that we're thinking on autopilot? The definition of perspective is a particular attitude toward or a way of regarding something, a point of view. Have you ever taken a vacation or gone on a retreat, and when you come home, you see things totally differently, right? Like, there's been times when I've gone on a retreat and I come home and I just have this urge to clean out my closet and to sort of upgrade life in a way. Or you come back. I remember one time I came back from Hawaii, and I don't know, times get all mixed up when you fly at night, and I don't remember when I had slept or whatever, but my mom was still there, and I woke up. She had gotten the boys ready for school, and I woke up and jumped in the car to go with them to drop them off. And my mom was like, I need to run to Costco, and I'm like, I still am in my pajamas, my sweats. And I was like, let's go. I don't really care, because I had come home with such a sense of freedom. I didn't even have my purse at all. And I was like, hey, Mom, I'll just get you when we get home. Is that cool? You know what I mean? Just a totally different way, because I had adapted from a different culture and it gave me a different perspective. So today, what I want to talk to you about is being able to look at the things in your life that you are experiencing and to see if there's a way for you to experience it from a different perspective. One of my neighbors told me this story about how he had recently had surgery and he lost 30 pounds. And one of his days back at the gym, he saw two of his friends at different times. And one of them said, oh man, you look so lean, you look good. And then the other friend, different time, same day, said, dude, you look skinny and depressed. Same day, within a matter of just whatever happened in that hour time of him working out and being at the gym. Completely a matter of perspective and how you see things. There's a friend of mine who recently lost a son of hers to suicide, and she posted something on Instagram that was really great mindset check for people, especially moms. She said that she was talking with a group of friends, and they're all amazing mamas. And this woman has lots of other kids. So they're just sitting there chatting about, their kids. And they were talking about the frustrations of having kids who can't drive yet, that they have to go a ton of places. Maybe they have to get to work, practices, all these different things for school. And she was like, wow, I am really having this internal awareness. And she asked herself, if Link were here, would I know to be grateful for the things that feel frustrating, even the things that feel frustrating? These are her words. She said, obviously I miss all the fun things, proms, mountain bike races, holidays, milestones, hearing his laugh, and so many future things. But there would have been hard things too. Maybe a fender bender, maybe some broken bones, all the teenage things, hard decisions about the future, even depression, if he had talked to me. Would I have had the perspective to be grateful for those too, just because it meant he was here? And I think taking a little bit of a dose of that, right? It's not a feeling sorry for. It's really just a way to jump into a scene, to see life from someone else's perspective, to try to help us enjoy our journey more. That's really what it boils down to. There was a woman in church recently that raised her hand, and she shared something that was very profound to me. She said she had been experiencing a lot of internal struggle and a lot of mental things that were happening in her life. And she felt like she had the direct impression that she was going through the struggle she was going through right now so that she could help one of her children later. And she said it completely flipped her point of view, right? Like she was now approaching it from the perspective of like, all right, how do I help the situation, and what are the things that I can find that will help me, that will in the future possibly help one of my kids. Same reality, different story that's running in our mind. The truth for both sides would still be there, right? For all of the stories that I've shared. But really, you get to experience a different outcome because of what we focus on. Much of our life and our human potential comes down to the narrative we decide to focus on. Are you an overweight person? Or isn't it also true that you lost a few pounds this month? Did you fail, or are you stronger because of your setback? Are you scared, or can you see the reasons that you are prepared for what's in front of you? Asking yourself, are you really choosing the right facts? Like really going inside and looking at the narrative you are telling yourself about your experience, about your life, about your story. And are you telling yourself something that's conducive to success? Because I promise if we can get this part right, the rest follows. All of the things that seem to pile on top of that follows. There's a study done where they studied the top 5 tennis players in the world, and they were, putting them up against the top 25 and kind of like, well, what are the differences? And they found that things like diet, exercise, coaching, and even when they started playing, that those things were all really similar. So it wasn't any of those things. When it really boiled down to what was different between the top 5 and the top 25, it was their thinking. It was their perspective. What they found was that in the 10 to 15 seconds after a point had been scored, the athletes that thought positive things like, I love this game and there's nowhere else I'd rather be. I may not have gotten that shot, but I'll get the next one. Watch this. Those types of thought processes, actually, they found that it slowed down their heart rate, it slowed down their breathing, and it conserved their energy. So across the whole competition, in the end, they were victorious. I love stories like this because they help us see that the perspective that we assign, the story that we tell ourselves in our brain, actually matters. One of my very favorite questions to ask myself when I am narrating my life is, will thinking this way about this person or about this situation or about this future that I'm creating bring forward what I would ask for if I were wishing upon a star? If I was a little girl out on my sidewalk that saw the very first star of the night and I made a wish, would this be the way I would see it? And if not, then it's time to do our best to see it from a different perspective. It's really easy to get stuck in the mindset that your outlook is the only way to see the thing that's happening. Okay, I don't really want to say issue or problem, but just to even see just the normal way that life is playing out. Like, it's really easy to get stuck there. It's like time to go on a brain vacation, right? There's something called cognitive reframing, and really it teaches you to ask yourself questions like, is there another way that I can look at this situation? Or what are some other possible reasons that this could have happened, right? Assigning things like the benefit of the doubt and the best way to look at something, pointing out alternatives that help you see it from another point of view. Another piece of work that I really admire around the idea of cognitive reframing, of bringing in different thoughts, is the work of Byron Katie. If you don't know her work, it is completely worthwhile to jump in and just dive into this thing that she calls the work. And she basically sets forth, in a really reduced version of what she does, this methodology that allows us to ask questions that walk us through the way that we're narrating our life, right? So essentially, she asks us to first recognize. That's always the first step, right? Recognize your feelings in a given situation, and then to describe your feelings in a really concise way. And then to ask yourself 4 questions, okay? 4 questions. She recommends to ask, is it true? And then I love the next question because it questions the first question, because so many times we get in our own way and you're like, well, yeah, it's true. She says, the next one is, can you absolutely know it's true? Because that really causes us to stop and be like, wow, is there another way to see this, right? And then the third is, how do you react when you believe this thought? And then 4, who would you be without this thought? And then you turn it all around and you consider the opposite of what it is that you're thinking. And this simply allows us to see more options and to maybe not be so attached to the idea that the way that we're thinking of it is the right way. That's when we really get in trouble, when we think there's only one way to look at it. That's why, sometimes we can trip on, is it true? I love that she asks it twice, but something that would just be the most incredible or even more expansive would just be say, like, would I wish for this? Like, would I want this to be true? And if the answer to that is no, then start seeing something different that you can assign to it that's also true, and we just start focusing on that, right? We change the perspective. When a photographer cannot change a scene, then the photographer changes the angle and the lens to capture the best of the scene. So similarly, when you can't change a situation in your life, change your perspective and your mindset to be able to get the best out of the situation. And ultimately, that's my challenge for you today, is really, really just flipping the pancake on the perspective. So here's another really cool expression to think about. So what we've been talking about is like flipping the perspective or altering or changing the way that we see it, the perspective, right? But what I really love too is this expression that says putting things into perspective. And I think we could probably have an hour-long conversation about that. You can just let yourself also ponder what it means to put things into perspective, right? Because that kind of channels like a better way of thinking, putting it into this beautiful little package that creates a better outcome by the way that you're thinking of it. But I like to also think of, when we put things into perspective, how about we put them underneath a microscope and really look a little bit more into what we are thinking? Or think about, let's not just a microscope, but how about a kaleidoscope? Let's really mix it up, right? Think about if you were to put it in the kaleidoscope and spin it and spin it and spin it and start to see so many different designs and so many different ways to see it. Mic drop on your power. I'm not even kidding. Yesterday we were sitting on the couch and we got to talk to my son. It's his birthday. My middle son, he's serving a mission for our church. And so we don't get to see him, but we do get to talk to him weekly and also on special occasions. And so it being his birthday, he was calling home and we were chatting. And we were kind of getting towards the end of chatting. And Tice was saying, my youngest was saying, Mom, look, I want to watch Hunt for the Wilder People. Let's watch it. And if you, P.S., have not seen that movie, it is a family classic. So put it on your list. But the point of the story is that I was like, no. We're going to watch The Chosen. It's Sunday. We want to watch The Chosen, Tice. And we're so excited, right? Because season 4 is out and like we want to get caught up. And anyway, we're really excited to dive into The Chosen. And Scotty heard this little banter going on between us, and he's like, Tice, look at me, listen to me, look at me. And he goes, look, he goes, I wish so badly right now that I could watch The Chosen, like so bad. And I know that it just brings you a different perspective about Jesus, and I love it. And he started going on and on about why we should watch The Chosen. And it's funny when you take the things that are normal away from your normal sense of like your normal way of doing things, right? Like, so he's on a mission, and they are staying very focused when they're on their mission. So they don't do a lot of things like watch TV or watch, even listening to music is very protected, right? It's a very, they choose so carefully what they're exposed to. They have one day to kind of get their things that help them to prepare for the rest of the week, and to also build a lot of their fun in, as far as what's for just them, right? Like hiking or fishing or things like that. They have one day. And so they focus the rest of the week on really just what they are there to do, which is to teach. And so it was just so funny that Scotty is begging Tice to do what he can't do almost in his honor, right? He was even telling him that he had gone camping that previous weekend with a bunch of the boys in our church. And he said, please tell me that you had fun. Please tell me that you had such a great time. And Tice had this moment where it caused him to change the way that he was thinking about the things he, quote, gets to do, right? Scotty begging him to please enjoy it and not just to let it pass by actually completely flipped Tice's perspective. Paul McGregor said, changing your perspective changes your experience. And we can do a whole nother podcast on that. And we have. We talk a lot on this podcast about what we focus on actually changes the outcome. And it is so cool to do experiences around that, because even the way that we think actually alters and changes the actions of other people around us. And it's fascinating to watch. And so, my friends, today I just wanted to zero in on perspective and to really help you see that it's time to take apart the way that you're thinking about it and to enjoy it, to see it as a privilege, to, see it as growth, to give something or someone the benefit of the doubt, or, to create it as though you would if you were that younger person gazing up at the star, seeing that first star of the night and saying, starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. I wish I may, I wish I might have the wish I wish tonight. And let all of your perspective be governed by that simple outlook. I hope that you can see that by altering and improving your perspective, you have more power than you think you do. All right, my friend, I hope you have a couple of great takeaways from that episode. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Also, I wanted to remind you that a really great way to support the Mindset Check podcast is to shop our Amazon affiliate link. This costs you $0. It's a tiny extra step that you take in your Amazon shopping that actually helps our podcast in a big way, a huge way, I promise you. There are all kinds of things when you're running a podcast that we need to support. And so it's so helpful to be able to get this kickback from your shopping on Amazon. And guess what? The best part is it doesn't cost you extra. It just simply gives us a kickback for being the one to direct you to Amazon, which honestly, we are all on anyway. I don't know about you, but I already have my list forming about what I'm going to buy for Amazon Prime Day, right? Amazon Prime Day that comes up sometime in the middle of July. And I kind of form this list of things and I'm like, hey, I'm just going to start buying it all on that day. And I think forward to birthday gifts that are coming up and lots of things that actually Amazon just has such a cool way of making our life easier, right? It's so great. Okay, so what you do is you simply, instead of just typing in Amazon.com, you type in Amazon.com/shop/my friend Misha. That's it. That's literally it. Amazon.com/shop/my friend Misha. And then anything that you shop after you type that in for like the next 24 hours will give a kickback to my friend Misha. And I appreciate it so much. Like, I cannot even tell you. So it's just one little conscious thing that you can do when you're doing your shopping that really supports the podcast. So thank you in advance for your intention and for wanting to support this space here. And also just for being the kind of person that wants to improve your life in a way where these messages that we're talking about actually are helping you, that are lifting you. Like bravo, right? Because my belief is that when we start to prefer education over entertainment, our life actually changes, right? Just the same way we talked about today, that when you shift your perspective, suddenly the life you're living changes. And it's really just all of this. These are the steps to waking up and living a different reality rather than being, somewhat stuck in a personality. We get to find freedom, we get to find expansion, we get to find joy. Lastly, I want to leave you with a little bit of encouragement as you are seeking and finding perspective in your life, that it also helps to zoom your lens out. We talked about a photographer sort of changing the lens and changing, right? And sometimes it's zooming out so that we can see a bigger picture. So hopefully these are some tips and some things that really help you to be able to assign a different meaning to what you're experiencing. Sending you love from my heart for all of your situations and creatings. Until next time, my friend.